Well, good afternoon, Panther family. I am Dr. Shaniqua Webb, and I am the client advocate over at the Counseling Center. And today we have a very special podcast where we're going to be talking about destigmatizing mental health. And on this podcast panel, I have a great group of different individuals that you might have seen around GSU. And I'm going to give them this opportunity right now to be able to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do at GSU or their role at GSU. So, whoever wants to start first, y'all can go ahead.
So I can start. So my name is Liz Rivera. I'm the coordinator of outreach. I also do some counseling at the Counseling Center. You may have seen me on our social media, Be Well Panthers. So that's me.
And I'm Dr. Chris Ann Mayer. I'm the coordinator of urgent care and suicide prevention in the Counseling Center. So I do counseling with students, and I also do training around suicide prevention and teach some courses.
Okay.
Hi, y'all. My name is Anitra Patrick, and I work with student assistants in the Office of the Dean of Students. We work with students with out of class issues like emergency financial assistance, emergency withdrawals, and other types of assistance they may need.
I'm Alex Taylor. I'm a graduate student in the Georgia State School Counseling Program, and I am a GA for the counseling.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all for being here today. And this is just going to be just a good conversation around the topic of mental health. So there are going to be some questions that I'm going to be asking you all, but and I look forward to hearing what you all have to say about these questions. So y'all ready to get started?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So when you hear the word mental health, what words come to mind?
I think the word that comes to mind for me is adaptability. That ability to be able to adjust to new situations, to be able to quickly learn new skills and behaviors in response to a changing situation.
That's a good one. Anybody else?
Well, when I think of mental health, I automatically also think of self-care and like the ability to just be kind to yourself, do things for yourself, and to kind of take care of yourself and your mental health.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, going off of that, Liz, I think about wellness primarily, like mental wellness and physical wellness and how they interact with each other and just general care for yourself.
Cool.
I would
Anitra, do you have anything? Okay.
Yeah, I think of stress, just normal everyday stress, and that it's something that you have to check in with regularly, that it's something that everybody has and deals with.
Okay, good. So, different question. So, what are some typical things you have heard or thought about in terms of going to counseling? So, like if someone says that they're thinking about going to counseling, what are some things that you typically think about or you've heard?
Well, I'll say when I refer students to counseling a lot, because they come to me when they're stressed out, and I've heard students say, we don't do that in my family, we pray about it. And so they see it as something that is contradictory to that somehow.
Yeah.
So kind of as someone that does like the counseling at the counseling center, so coming from that perspective, there's a lot of things that the students share with me. So like a few of the things, one of them is like, I don't want to be put on medication or something like that. So they make this assumption, or that it's like a sign of weakness to come to counseling. That is a big myth. So some of those are the typical things that I've heard.
Yeah, and I've heard therapy is for people who have serious issues. Like my issues aren't bad enough to need counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can take care of my problems on my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I agree with that. Just overall, not prioritizing mental health. Maybe it's too expensive, or you don't know where to go for it, or you don't think you have time for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's difficult to make that a priority, especially like Dr. Mayer said, if you think that, oh, well, my problems aren't big enough for therapy.
Yeah. Okay, all very good answers, very good answers. So I do have a question that I want to ask Alex. Um, what have you been taught about mental health? Or like what messages did you receive about mental health from like friends and family?
From friends and family, um, it was always that kind of like what Dr. Mayer said, that if you have problems that are serious enough where they're inhibiting you from doing things in your everyday life, or they're hurting your relationships, or you're in harm's way yourself, if your problems are that big, quote unquote, then maybe you should seek help. But if you are seeking help, it's not something that you're really talking about, it's a personal matter. um, if there are people that are seeking help in your life, it's kind of like it's their business. You don't want to really ask them about it. You don't gossip about it or talk about it openly. Just not like full on taboo, but just that stigma was definitely there as like these
Mm-hmm.
are serious issues and they're personal and they're not quote unquote normal, right? So, um, not a lot of openness to it, but definitely exposure to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because we actually have another student that's going to be joining us that just logged on, and I'm going to put her on the stream right now. This is Vivian. Vivian, you came in actually at a great time because we're just kind of asking. I'm asking some questions specifically because I want to get some student input on these questions. So, just quickly, if you can tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and just your role at GSU.
My name is Vivian Hubby. I am a master's student in the school counseling program, and I am also a graduate assistant at the counseling center here at Georgia State.
Okay, great. So, I asked you a different question. Why don't you think people use mental health services? Because we're talking about destigmatizing mental health. Why do you think people don't use it?
Right. I think that it's been stigmatized in a lot of ways. I think that there's a lot of shame around seeking mental health. I think mental health help. I think a lot of people think that it means that you're weak, or that you're not strong enough to handle your stuff on your own. And it definitely requires a lot of vulnerability that I don't think that we're taught is a strong point to do. And I think that I know that I received messages growing up that it was going to like hurt me somewhere down the line if someone found out that I struggled with any mental health issue, that that was going to be used against me in some ways. So I think a lot of those messages are out there, and that prevents people from seeking out mental health services.
Okay, that's a great answer. Great answer. So, like, and this question is to both Vivian and Alex. What do you do if you feel like you need help, but you're not supported by your friends or family? Like, what would you do, or what could someone do if they felt like they wasn't supported by their friends or family?
I would look for resources in my community, starting by, a simple, like, we're all part of the Georgia State community. If I didn't have the knowledge about what I had here at school, I would start by a simple Google search of like mental health resources for students on campus, or pay attention to like the signs that I see around campus that lead me to the counseling center, or any other type of community resources that I may have, whether it's like a sports team that I'm on, or any type of organization or church religious practice. Just looking around for other support systems.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also think like the fact that we have access to Together All through Georgia State, that's a really helpful resource. And that's a place where people can just talk openly about mental health. And if they're not comfortable talking about it, like as themselves, you can do it anonymously, which I think is a great resource. And also just like talking about it, like in whatever circles you're in, like the more that we talk about it, it destigmatizes it, and you'll find other people who are supportive, and you can form new connections with people who will be able to help you in your mental health journey if you're not getting it with your family and friends.
Good answers. So this question is going to be for everybody on the panel. Um, what do y'all think is the vibe at GSU in terms of seeking help? Like, do you feel like um, we encourage our students enough to, get help if they need it? Like, how is the vibe, so to speak?
I mean, I'll speak on when I do presentations and I
Okay.
go and I meet with a lot of students, housing residents. It seems like they're open to receiving this help. And I don't know if this is like a shift in our society that we're like prioritizing mental health, because I do see that. Apart from GSU, but just this campus itself. Like I know RAs are promoting counseling. I know teachers and professors. I know departments are promoting our counseling services. So I have a lot of students who are like, hey, I'm interested in getting started counseling. Like, what do I do? So when I am doing all these presentations or going to these events and giving this presence of the counseling center, it seems like a lot of students are open to getting started. I will say that. But again, I'm coming from this perspective of working in the counseling center. So
I agree with you. I do think we have a lot of students that are very aware of mental health and their needs and are like, they're not judgmental of other people. They know that, people deal with things. We have a lot of in our community where people want to be accountable for others. So it's very common, like in our office, for someone to say, my friend or my roommate seems like they might be struggling. How can I refer them or get them some help? So I mean, I really like that about Georgia State, that people are looking out for each other. One of the things that I do see is that for individuals, it doesn't seem like it's as much of a priority. So like people know, but that they need the help, but they don't prioritize their health. So they put it on the back burner. So they know that they're struggling or they're dealing with some things, but um, they miss their appointments or they're open to getting help and they may do a first appointment, but they may not follow through or, something like that. So that consistency isn't there like it probably should be and like it would be if it were a physical um, health issue.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add to that? Okay. So, kind of want to move on to basically how to help people that need help if they're in a mental health crisis. So, I'm gonna ask this question to Dr. Mayer if she is able to answer this. Like, how would you talk to someone that you're concerned about? Like, if you're concerned about a friend who is, you notice that they're not been feeling their self lately. Like, what could be some things that you could say or ask them?
Yeah, I think when a friend seems to be struggling or is experiencing a mental health problem, they may be feeling really alone.
Mm-hmm.
So support from a friend is even more important. Um, I think you're there to support your friend and to help them find professionals who can help. And you can tell them that you're worried. You can tell them that about the changes that you've seen in them, and ask them what's happening without making assumptions. I've seen that you've gone from getting up extra early and working out before class to, barely rolling out of bed and coming to class late. Um, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, offering to go with them to the counseling center is something that can be really helpful and really supportive to a friend.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So, and you kind of already touched on this, Dr. Mayer, about some of the signs of mental distress, but are there any others that we might need to be aware of?
Yeah, I think so. I think, um, every mental illness is different, but I guess some signs that I can think of are changes in feelings, such as worry or panic, or sadness or hopelessness,
Mm-hmm.
um, loss of interest in things that are pleasurable, changes in sleeping habits and eating habits, um, having low energy, um, having difficulty understanding or relating to others, and maybe having uncontrollable emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the big ones for me.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I actually have a few things to add.
Okay.
So there's a couple of resources that are available to students if they do have someone that they're concerned about and they don't know how to talk to them. So we do have Cognito, which is just a simulation to help you start that conversation. And we also have Seize the Awkward, and that is like kind of a campaign that's like helping with a conversation starter or even during the conversation. Like, what do you say when someone does say that, this is how I'm feeling? So these are available to them too. If they feel like, hey, I need some additional support on how to approach my friend, my roommate, my peer.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to also put that out there too.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I know Dr. Mayer, and I think Liz, you talked about this too, in terms of like being able to access services. So like if a student is in some type of mental health crisis and they want to seek support, like what would be the way to access? Like what would they need to do?
So they can just give us a call and they can get started with services same day. If you don't have our number is 404 413 1640. And that's also an on call number. You can give us a call and then follow the prompt so you can speak to a counselor. But if you're interested in starting services with us, just give us a call and we can get you in same day to get started.
Okay.
And I'll just follow up with that by saying that that number is also available 24/7. You can call and talk with a counselor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. But what if it's someone that they feel like they don't necessarily want to see a counselor? What would be some other services? Because I know, I think Vivian, you had mentioned something
Mhm.
about Together All. But what about some other resource for maybe students that don't want to seek a counselor?
So if you don't, or maybe not ready for counseling, there's so many other things that are available to you as a Georgia State student. So Vivian mentioned Together All. Together All is a community. It's a peer-to-peer support community. You just log in with your Georgia State email, and it's supervised by a licensed therapist. And it's just your peers are providing you with support. We also have MindWise that's also available to students at Georgia State. MindWise provides like mental health screening. So if you're feeling some type of way, like for example, it is depression screening day in a week. You can take a mental health screening online to help you. Am I depressed? If you have those type of questions, that is also available to you. And I also want to point out, because I know our GAs do it a lot, we have social media that has so many resources. So our social media, Be Well Panthers, on Instagram, we provide self-care tips. We provide meditations. We provide mindful activities such as the wellness walk. And different tips. So even if you're not ready to get engaged in counseling, or maybe it's not the thing for you, there are other things that can help you with your mental health. So you can join us on our meditation. You can join us on so many different things. And it's all available to you on social media.
I would also echo the Together All service. In addition to being this anonymous peer-to-peer chat line, it also has self-paced cognitive behavior therapy courses that you can take, that you can learn coping strategies for things like depression and anxiety. So that's also available through Together All.
Thank you for that. So I know y'all had mentioned about depression and anxiety being, some common forms of mental health concerns that people may experience. But being at the counseling center, what have you all noticed in terms of being some of the main things that students might come in for in terms of seeking services?
Mm-hmm.
I think anxiety and depression are big ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also substance use
Okay.
concerns.
Mm-hmm.
There's also eating concerns.
That about covers it. Or relationship issues or something like that, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
about covers it.
Yeah. Or maybe even like some life transitions, grief and loss, maybe things like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you see other things? And because well, I guess at least they may be referred outside of the counseling center. I think in our office we do see a number of students that are for the first time having or experiencing symptoms of maybe bipolar disorder or something like that, because it usually manifests at what, between age 19 and
And 25.
25. You
Yeah.
all tell me, you're the clinicians.
You got it right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And I also wanted to add, since, I am the client advocate, there might be some times that, if you're coming to the counseling center and, you feel that you may need more specialized services that we can provide, or if it's something where you may need more longer term services than what we can provide, we can also get you connected with services in the community, providers, groups, different things like that to help you get what you need to. So I don't want you to feel like, even if you may not be able to get everything that you need with us, you're still able to get support elsewhere. So that way you will be able to get what you need. I just wanted to throw that out there too. Okay. So want to ask y'all in terms of counseling. Okay. So, and just to kind of make sure that, if people having concerns about this, if people go to counseling, do they have to take medication?
No.
Okay.
No one ever has to take medication. It's always a choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A psychiatric consultation might be recommended, but it's always up to you whether you take medicine. That said, there are some psychiatric disorders, such as anxiety and major depression, that have been shown to respond to treatment better with a combination of counseling and medication.
Thank you for answering that, because I know that can be a concern that a lot of people may feel. And so, and if medication is needed, that's okay too. So, but just know that it's not necessary to go to counseling to get medication. So what about in situations where, like, let's say you're in counseling and it might get to a point where you're in a mental health crisis to where you may need to be hospitalized? When would that be necessary to have to be hospitalized?
I think hospitalization becomes necessary when a person needs a safe and secure place to maintain their safety. When they're experiencing suicidal thoughts to the point that they and their supports can no longer keep themselves safe. Um, Hospitalization also gives the mental health professionals at the hospital the opportunity to more thoroughly assess the degree to which one's mental health symptoms are affecting them.
Okay. And do you know, like, if there's a certain amount of time that someone may need to be hospitalized? Or does it vary for people that may have questions about that?
I think it varies. Usually, the first day or so is really about that fuller assessment of what's going on, and then it can be up to a week. That's not too unusual.
Okay. Thank you. So let's say that a student may have to be hospitalized, and Anitra, you'll be a great person to answer this question. Um, can they make up their work? Like, who do they need to talk to about their assignments, any missed assignments, because they may have to be hospitalized? What would the process be that they would need to take?
Yeah, there's lots of different options. We encourage students to contact the Office of the Dean of Students if they have to be out for a period of time, or if, if they're dealing with something like this, and we can sort of discuss their individual circumstances. And it might be that we send in a letter to their professors to let their professors know that they've had a medical emergency. We don't disclose any details, so that they can have an excused absence. We do have most students will make up work, continue the semester. Once they've been hospitalized, they're able to continue on now that they're in treatment and getting the assistance that they need. Some students do want to take some time off and they may choose to withdraw. Depending on the time of the semester, it may be that they do an emergency withdrawal so that it doesn't affect their GPA, and they're able to withdraw from classes. Some students withdraw from some classes, but not others. So they may just need to lighten their load, and that makes all the difference. And so there's lots of different options, even if it happens after the semester and there's a repeat to replace policy. So there's a lot of different things, and we are happy to discuss that with students to figure out an individual plan for them.
Great, great. So it sounds like there's just support all the way around, which is
Absolutely.
good. Which is good.
Yeah, we
Okay.
always want to make sure the priority is that students are taking care of themselves. They can't do well if they're not well. So we want to make sure that that's happening, and then we'll try to figure out how to take care of the rest.
I like that. I like how you said that
Mhm.
about being well, doing well, because isn't that our slogan? I
It
mean,
That's why I'm like, do
I
not be.
mean, right. So I mean, that's our motto. So it's great. It's fabulous. It just ties right in. I love it. So I wanted to ask you all, as kind of like a wrap up question, how can we as individuals help destigmatize mental health? Like, what can we do?
I think Vivian brought up the best point earlier of just having these conversations. I know it can be really difficult if you're not used to having the support, or if you're feeling very like stigmatized about like mental health, but talking about your own experiences and then seeing that representation on social media and TV and sparking those conversations just overall makes people more comfortable and open to sharing their own experiences, because we all either have a personal or 1 degree separation from a mental health issue or mental health in general. We all experience struggles and we can all seek help at times. So just lifting that veil of the severity of mental health issues just understanding that it's a common experience.
I like that.
I like that a
I
lot.
definitely agree.
Yeah. I love that common experience piece. It absolutely is. I know a lot of times our students think it's just them and they feel very isolated when they're dealing with something like this is just happening to them. But it's my whole job. So I see it all the time. And so it's not just you. And it's been over the course of like 14 years of me doing this. And even with students that are referred, I mean, I can probably count on one hand the number of students who weren't just relieved that someone referred them, that someone reached out, that someone wanted to help them. And there are tons and tons of success stories of students that, you know, that got into treatment, that got help, that acknowledged that they needed some assistance with their mental health and were able to um, acknowledge it, get the help they need, and go on to graduate and be successful and actually apply those things in their futures. And I mean, because you'll need it when you get into your career. It's life in general is going to continue. So you have to be able, if you can learn it now, you can manage it from now on and be successful in the future.
Mhm. And I think now is the perfect time to start talking about it. I think this past year and a half of our lives have been extraordinarily stressful, and I don't think there's a person on the planet who didn't experience some sort of mental health struggle in the past year to whatever varying degree. So it's on everyone's minds. And so I think just bringing it up and talking about it and just making it transparent that this is something that everybody goes through at one time or another just makes it a lot easier, and it feels like, oh, I'm not alone. This is a very common thing and we just have to talk about it, and it widens your support system. It makes it a lot more manageable.
Yeah, I think we all need to raise our voices against stigma. Um, and I think also if students are interested in getting involved with destigmatizing mental health, they could check out the Active Minds organization here on campus.
Okay.
That's an awesome organization. I was involved in that in undergrad, and I was excited to see that Georgia State had a chapter as well.
Okay. Great, great. Anyone else wanted to share any thoughts? Okay. So, as we get ready to wrap up, I always like to end any type of podcast recording that I do with kind of leaving some words of inspiration for our viewers. So, it could be anything. I don't know, like a quote or whatever, just something, or just a positive thought, or just something that we could leave with the viewers that might be watching this. Just what would you say to them?
I think I want to say to keep moving toward your mental health. Keep, that flexibility, that adaptivity, that creativity, that stress relief, self care, all of those things. Keep moving toward that.
I'll add like one thing I like to tell students is be kind to yourself. You're learning, you're growing. So always remember to be kind to yourself.
Love it.
I'll just
Well,
say we're here for you. The counseling center is here for you. Our social media presence is here for you. We've got together we've highlighted so many amazing resources that we have on campus for wherever anybody is on their mental health journey.
yeah. And I would just say, like, life is hard, but you've got what you need to get where you want to go, and celebrate the little things. And if you feel like you don't have what you need, reach out to the counseling center and we can help you out.
Love it, love it. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. I mean, y'all pretty much said everything, but yes, just, definitely know that you really have support here. Not just by the counseling center, but just GSU as a whole. Like the dean of students, like so many services on campus are, here just to support you. And even if they're not the place to go, they can direct you to who you need to see. So yeah, so just kind of remember that. Just remember that. Take care of yourself because that's what's most important. But thank you all so much, my lovely panel, being a part of this such informative and important discussion about destigmatizing mental health. And to the viewers out there, I hope that you were able to gain something from this, something maybe that you didn't already know, and you're able to, apply this to your life, the knowledge that you learned, as well as share it with someone that you love. Let's all work together to do our part to destigmatize mental health. And if there's nothing else from the panel, we can go ahead and close.
Thank you, Dr. Webb.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank you.
No problem. So, y'all take care. And until next time, take care of yourself and each other. And always remember to own your own advocacy.